views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
This is happening en masse. Every day in 2021, more than 27 Canadians died by the hands of their physicians or nurses. That's double the suicide rate.
Well, I think we're at a very difficult place in society in dealing with questions of suffering and death, because there are a few major trends happening all at the same time. Three things. We have an aging population, just in terms of demographics. Second, we have all these advances in medicine and technology that keep people alive a lot longer, but lead to sort of highly medicalized end of life. And the third thing is that as a society, we've lost a lot of our cultural tools for dealing with the reality of death and dying.
We as a society, we can do better. We can do better than this. Let's fix the system first before we expand these laws.
When a person is faced with overwhelming problems, we need to eliminate the problems, not the person.
This is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. We're on Zoom this episode, and we are going to be interviewing Mr. Daniel Kooman himself. He is with Unveil TV, is what he put together several years ago. He is director, producer, and editor. Now you have brothers working with you then?
Yeah, there's three of us, Andrew, Matthew, and myself, Daniel. So we together run Unveil TV.
How long, when was Unveil TV formed?
We first formed Unveil Studios as our production banner. We started in 2005, and we started Unveil TV in 2021. So, because it's a streaming platform where people can watch what inspires them. So we've kind of, over the 20 years that we've been doing this, we've, 18, I guess, technically, we started to compile a lot of the stories that inspired us from either things that we produced overseas or, here in Canada where we're based, or, original film projects we were part of, and then also some that we've licensed from other filmmakers that we've met over the years.
So where are you at? Where's your Unveil TV? Where are you? And I know you're in Canada, but I don't know where.
Yeah, we're based Vancouver Island. So
Vancouver.
Yeah.
I thought you were in Alberta.
We started in Alberta. We're born and raised Alberta, and we've been slowly migrating.
What are some of is it documentaries you have done or film? What?
Yeah, we've done several documentaries and documentary series, including Breath of Life is a more recent one about the Genesis creation story. We've done a series called Dream about people living and finding their God-given purpose. We've done a bunch of shorter or feature-length documentaries, like, individual films as opposed to series. Lots of stuff in India, Africa. We did stories about the untouchables in India, stories about the AIDS orphans in Tanzania and Kenya, and also a feature film that some people may have seen called She Has a Name, based on a human trafficking story out of Southeast Asia. That's a true story that we did.
Wow. Whereabouts in Asia? Singapore?
It's based on an event at the Thailand and Malaysian border where a water truck was abandoned and was carrying about 112 passengers, and 54 of them were dead. And so that was a really big moment in around 2008 when that sort of started to put human trafficking towards the forefront. A lot of people weren't aware that modern day slavery exists. And of course, now we've seen a lot of new organizations and also films telling the story of human trafficking in the modern day.
How do the unfortunate kids get into that? Or women or men or?
Yeah, lots of children, lots of women, lots of men. Around half, just roughly half of human trafficking cases, which by the way, there are millions. Around half are for sex slavery and half are for labor and for, slave labor. And so it happens in every country, every city in the entire world. But
they're sold by their parents?
Yeah, in many, many cases, parents would be selling in places of poverty, selling their own children for, a few $100s or $200.
There's no love there.
Yeah, it happens right here in Canada, US. It's a wild, wild thing. I have friends who were part of military families trafficked right here in Canada.
Dang.
Yeah, it's wild. It's very sad.
Has this been going on for eons?
Yeah, so there's more slaves in the world today than during the transatlantic slave trade with, William Wilberforce and some of those famous Hannah More, some of those famous British abolitionists. There's more slaves in the world today than when slavery was quote unquote legal.
We had that down here in the United States, eh?
Yeah. Did you hear the movie Sound of Freedom, it's in a similar vein of our
I've heard
Shane's
of it.
Name movie. Yeah, same kind of a story, although that focuses on some stories in US and then down into Central America, or Colombia, I believe. But yeah, so the story of She Has a Name, it could have been told in a life story of Canada, the US, Mexico,
There is
India.
no respect.
Yeah.
No respect for life.
Yeah, once you take away the sanctity of a life, you can pretty much imagine any horrible thing possible, and then there will be a lot worse things that are happening than what you can imagine.
Well, I'm pro-life, pro-family. I have most of my episodes are really pro-life from the womb to the tomb.
Yes.
So Breath of Life sounds interesting. Is that out yet? The Breath of
Yeah, it is. And so all these projects can be streamed off of our Unveil TV site. We have apps where people can get it on their phones, or else unveiltv.com. And
YouTube?
the Breath of Life is available on Unveil TV. It's a 4-part series about the Genesis creation account. Starts with the first breath that humanity ever breathed after God went into the Garden of Eden and formed man and woman in his own image. Got his hands dirty in the mud and shaped and sculpted and did this incredible work of art, which he called his masterpiece. And he shaped it, but it wasn't alive until he breathed his own breath.
Into it, yes.
The sound of his name, Yahweh, on every breath. And when he breathed his name, Adam went,
Abba.
The name of God, and he came alive.
Abba. I call him Abba.
Abba, yeah, Father.
That's the first thing. I noticed that with babies. Abba, Abba. They know.
That's right.
As they grow up, they live Christian or they don't. And you kind of pray for the young ones. So let's go for the main thing we want to talk about today. Is called MAiD. MAiD. What
a curse word, a 4-letter curse word here in Canada. So MAiD stands for Medical Assistance in Dying, more commonly known as euthanasia or assisted suicide. And when you put a word like MAiD on something, people immediately have a disconnect. There's cognitive dissonance from what it really means. But what it is assisted suicide. It's where a doctor or a nurse kills you. And in Canada, 36 people every day are killed by their own doctor or nurse.
That is so not right.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Our
Come on,
series,
the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah, in our series, I believe it's part 4 of our series. It's called Ethics and Euthanasia, and we go into how it's completely counter the Hippocratic Oath. Of course, one of the ways they get away from that is that they don't have to take the Hippocratic Oath when they become a doctor anymore. But Hippocrates himself said, "I will never give poison to anyone, even if they would ask it of me." And this was even before Jesus. Like, this is like goes way back. And this is people asking their doctor or nurse to poison them, to kill them, to stop their heart. The same ingredients that would be used in a lethal injection in states in the US that had performed lethal injection, or maybe still do, for capital punishment,
Abortion.
the ingredients of what stops your heart, sedates your body, puts you into deep slumber. Of course, because your body is paralyzed, you don't know that inwardly you're screaming as you go down they like to call it a blaze of glory, but I don't believe that blaze is
scream.
Yeah, it's a silent scream, and it's very similar to abortion in that way, because you have to sedate the ones that, in a way, it's like the people performing it are sedated. You know what I mean? Like, the doctors and nurses are convincing themselves that it's okay because they can't see anything in front of them. But 10% of the people that sign up for assisted suicide actually recant. Like, they don't want
They don't want to do it, right?
But the thing is, there's been stories in Canada of people kicking and screaming and trying to stop the doctor or nurse from performing it, and they've been given it anyways.
Should be arrested. Who's the idiot who started that?
Yeah, well, there's a few of them. We have a former justice minister who will go down in infamy, no doubt. But his role was both the head lawyer of all of Canada, called the Attorney General, and also the justice minister in the member of parliament. So he's in a conflict of interest on that one. But so he's in a position where he was overseeing the coming down of key laws. Like, so the way it works in Canada is we have provinces and then we have the federal. So it's kind of like, you Americans that might be listening, you have the states, and then you have is it called the Senate, the Congress? So here we have like a Congress and a Senate per se, a little different terminology, but so something can happen provincially in a court case, go even as far as the Supreme Court, which is the top court of that province.
Right.
And then they can bring it to the federal level, to the national level, and say, we want to adopt this. And so if that happens, there's always supposed to be a high level of scrutiny, because it's only come from one province. So one little part of your massive country, one tiny little part, has some sort of case, but they took this one tiny little case that happened in a Quebec court, and it wasn't even a Supreme Court. It was like a high level court, not quite the top. And they took that one tiny case, and then this justice minister used that for all of Canada. And within 6 months, we had euthanasia in Canada. This was in around 2016. And, it was very, very sort of tricky how they communicated it, but like, this is for people that are in unbearable suffering.
Brainwash.
Yeah, so they started with this tiny little seed in people. And then the thing about our series that it's waking people up is that you go, okay, wait a minute. A lot of people will say that originally they kind of like sort of supported it, because people who are facing terrible suffering and they can't get out of it and they're stuck in their body, and they use all this terminology. And then, well, wouldn't you know,
words, you might say.
Yeah, so wouldn't you know that within a year and a half, they started to say, well, like, people who are unbearably suffering mentally should be able to access this. And it starts to broaden and broaden. And within 5 months of this interview, every Canadian 16 years or older will be eligible for assisted suicide.
I'm bipolar type 2. There is no way I'm going back to Canada until that thing is thrown out. There's no way. I won't be safe. And I'm 71 now. They go after the elderly. I'm an elderly person. Elderly, the baby in the womb. There's no respect from the womb to the tomb, like I said before. What happened? No God in our lives, eh? That's what's leaving.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it is the godlessness, the secularization, the use of the medical field as a gadget for government control. There's a lot to be said. No, there's a lot to be said about the finances and economy of it. Like they're tricking people on these sort of seemingly human arguments, but behind the scenes, they're trying to save billions of dollars on medical care. They're not focusing on palliative care, which is actually like a right. It's in Canada, it's a charter right to have care like towards the end of your life, but they won't even give you palliative care in time for you to get it. So it's basically like you
Oh,
kind of deny until they die is kind of one of the sayings. But yeah, it's a tragedy. Like there's such a need for human connection at any point of our lives. We're social beings. We're created by God to be in community, and
right.
because we've been forced into so much isolation, even things like COVID contributed greatly to this. People are living a lifestyle of isolation and they're disconnected from their loved ones. They're disconnected from community and they're disconnected from
That's
church.
not right.
Disconnected.
Whatever happened
So
to the family, you know, what's the word? Family unit. My husband.
yeah, that structure. I mean, those that still they call them the ancient paths, right? Those who stand by the critical things that come from the way we were designed and created. There's a lot of hope and a lot of life there. But when you talk to people who are isolated and they feel alone and they
Yeah,
feel like, oh, it sounds like the system wants to help me, but actually the system wants to kill you. So it's a really tricky it's a counterfeit, and so people actually look to their governments instead of looking to God, and they look to their
for
governments
sure.
instead of looking to
So
family.
much for looking at God and putting your belief in Him. It happens. When did it start? In the 60s, this detachment, or before that?
Yeah, I think secularization has always been a thing. I mean, it was probably a problem in ancient Israel as well, but it's uh, it's not
Century.
really new, but it's
That's not
accelerated.
new. But we got to put a stop to it, kid. I mean, sorry, I get emotional. My
Yeah,
late
we do.
aunt, like I said, was an abortionist. Killed babies. And
So you'll be interested to learn. We're currently working on a documentary for Abby Johnson.
I,
And it is called Unthinkable.
that's
It's all
right.
about making abortion unthinkable. And
I know
yeah,
it is.
it's going to be powerful, that's for sure.
Yes, it's sad. I interviewed her several times. See if I can try to interview her again when Unthinkable comes out. I mean, when does it?
Yeah. And definitely people should hop over to Unveil TV because you can kind of stay on top of all the things we're doing. We send out a weekly email to keep people in the loop of projects and things that are coming out. So
Because the MAiD is not really made in Canada. It's not good. It's not good. I mean, where else are we going? We're going spiraling down. We got to stop that for sure, eh? That's why we're here, to let other people know it is the wrong way to go. We should be, even though we're suffering, when we're dying of cancer or anything like that, or disabled, we have that right to live out our lives the way it should be, not like another Silent Green. Remember that show?
yeah, yeah, no, it's true. I mean, one of the things that I've noted because I've seen several people breathe their last breath naturally in hospital beds or at home. One of the things that anyone who is listening, and maybe yourself, when you think about loved ones that you've seen pass away, whether you saw them breathe their very last breath or you saw them towards the end, the most holy and connecting moments you probably ever had with that person were at the end of their life. So an example I have is my aunt who tragically in British Columbia, was the province I'm in, 15% of all deaths are euthanasia. 15%. So it's the
Knowing
third leading
someone who did
cause.
that, his mom did.
It's the third leading cause. It's going to affect every single family and individual in all of Canada because it's just only ramping up more and more. But so we had an aunt who sadly chose to do euthanasia, and at some point you can't really convince a person that's made up their own mind. I mean, you can tell them everything, or you pray or do the things, and God has to work on their heart. But
And what
even though
happens to them after they leave their body?
yeah, and so even though even though, yeah, I guess we don't know what happens, do we? That's the one of the greatest arguments to be made against euthanasia is that we don't know. That's one of the greatest arguments, because one thing we do know is that there is life after death, because eternity is in the hearts of men, as it says in the Bible. We know that people are built with an awareness that there's more to life than just this. We have enough, even evidence, you could say, from the people who have had near-death experiences or even come back from death. Like I know actually a few people personally whose hearts stopped and who died, and they were brought back, and the experiences they had, they align so powerfully with each other that there's actually evidence you can take from it. And one of the things that will happen is people who weren't actually in a relationship with Jesus is they will have an experience on the other side of life that is actually hell. I mean, they will see darkness, they will see horrible things, and we don't know for sure where these 36 people a day that are doing assisted suicide are going, but that's enough of a doubt for us to run from it altogether, for us to say we need to get our lives right. We need to spend every minute we have. And so because there is so much unbearable suffering, in a sense, in some people's lives, because they don't have the peace of God, or they don't have, the thing that would trump the pain, the thing that would come above the suffering is that Christ, and you count anything else as lost compared to knowing him. And so I think that as believers, and even just as community members in the world, we need to come around everyone who is suffering and who is in that weak and terrible place, and then build each other up and hold each other. You're right.
Yeah. Are we in the book of Revelation?
I think we always have been. I mean, the thing I find about prophetic scripture is it's past, present, and future. Where when you think about it, I had this truth drop on me recently, is that it says in the Bible, now is the day of salvation. So basically, don't delay, because now is the day. So for anyone who's facing death, and I have friends in Pakistan who are Christians who face death every day. There's people around the world who face death just because they proclaim the name of Jesus, right? I mean, you could take the old adage that I could walk out onto my road and be hit by a bus today, right? I mean, that is, whether that's the proverbial or the actual bus, the bus is coming, and you got to get, as Ava Cassidy said, if you don't have a ticket, you got to get on board, right? So you got to think about the fact that it's imminent. So it is the day of salvation. In that sense, the end times is literally always here, right? But in the sense of the broader sense of the book of Revelation is that we're undoubtedly seeing some of those things that, in Matthew 25, Jesus said, the birth pains, right? We're seeing some of those things increase.
And the birth pains are really, really hard. Breath of Life. It sounds like a very good movie. When is it being released? Is it already being? I know I've already asked you that, but my mind, I keep on forgetting.
Yeah, it is released on Unveil TV, so you can stream it through a subscription or rent it through Unveil TV.
So, how long is MAiD in Canada each segment?
So we've released 4 episodes so far. They range from 25 to 45 minutes, and they touch a different part of the first one is called MAiD for the Vulnerable. It's a focus on how disability advocates are speaking up because disabled people are targeted by euthanasia.
Mental, physical?
Yeah, mental, physical, anything emotional, the different aspects. There's a lot of vulnerable people who have been targeted. Episode 2 is about Canada's veterans. We have veterans who have been reached out to by Veteran Affairs to be offered euthanasia instead of practical things like ramps and wheelchairs. So it is in critical importance that people get themselves educated. And they can watch it for free. They can watch the series for free. This series, Made in Canada, is free. So some of our work, obviously, we need to be able to continue doing what we're doing, but we invite people to make donations to our Made in Canada series if they believe in what we're doing, but it's available entirely for free. So thanks to other donors, people can watch Made in Canada for free at Unveil TV.
Are you all over the world? Do you go, are you going to India, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be heading to India. I can pray that I get my visa because I don't have an approved visa yet, but sorry?
Get your shots?
Yeah, trying to avoid that, but yeah, I need to get an approved visa, and then we're doing a very exciting, soon to be announced biblical adaptation of a movie. So we're going to film that in India, and yeah, so we travel India, Thailand, Tanzania, many different places.
And I would like to thank you, Daniel, for being on my show. The show is almost over. May God bless you. May He keep you and yours safely in the palms of His holy hands. Amen.
Amen.
Well, it's been a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice to chat.
I thank you for coming on my show. I think you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Fabulous. So we'll see you next week, God willing. We have a different show next weekend. God bless you now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The universe began when God, the creator of everything, said, "Let there be light."
He created us, and then he uses his word yatsar in the Hebrew, which is a combination of make and create.
As the wonder of the world came to life with all its intricate beauty, the most miraculous moment had yet to become reality.
As remarkable as the universe is, the thing that should bring us the most amazement and wonder is the idea that God has made us in His image.
Why would He have created man in His own image? What was the purpose?
As the holy name of God comes into your body through your breath, your inner spiritual being was created to come alive with worship. You were created in the image of God so that you could remain connected and even be reminded by the sound of your very breath. The breath of life from Yahweh into Adam was the first of 3 breaths from God that shaped humanity. A breath that continues to shape the course of human history. Yahweh is the breath of life for all who believe.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always, and for the rest of